you for joining us today. Can you introduce yourself, give your name, and what kind of field you're working in, what kind of work you're doing?
So I'm Wilson. I graduated with a chemical engineering degree at Queen's University. During university, I had pretty average marks around, I was pretty much a B student. So to kind of differentiate myself, I decided to do an internship program, and I would say because of that internship program, I ultimately landed the full-time position that I have now with Imperial Oil. And not even that, I managed to get the specific position that I wanted within Imperial Oil, and it's starting up one of the largest energy projects in the world. So it's a great opportunity.
All right, so you did this internship during your undergraduate studies?
Yes.
Okay.
So when I finished my third year, I took 1 year off. It was a 12-month internship, and it was with Suncor.
Okay. And how did you come across this internship?
So first I joined an internship program as the Queen's sponsored internship program, and then they have a jobs board that's specifically for internship programs. And I saw a couple positions. One of them was the one at Suncor, so I just applied, put in my normal resume, and then I got a phone interview probably a week afterwards.
Okay.
And then, that's how I got the interview process.
And the internship program, is that mandatory as part of your program, or is that kind of...
It's totally, if you want to take it, then you can take it.
Okay. And so did anyone else give you a hint as to how useful this might be, or did anyone else in your program decide to participate in this internship program?
Not really. It was mainly, my marks were pretty average, so I knew I either had to do, extracurricular, which I did do as well.
Okay.
But I just need to get, actual real-world experience if I want to, differentiate myself from all the other people with higher marks.
Good idea. And what kind of extracurriculars did you do?
I did engineering without borders, so I was director of fundraising.
Oh.
So that's one thing I'd say as far as the interview process goes. Most people probably know what a behavioral interview is, but if you want to rely on experiences and stories that you want for teamwork, problem solving, and all that, you should. I highly encourage doing extracurricular activities.
So while you were a director of fundraising activities, you were able to kind of get a lot of that experience, and you were able to draw from that for the interview process?
Exactly. So as far as leadership positions, I'd be responsible for coming up with bottle drives, the bar campaigns, and a couple other fundraising events.
How long were you doing this?
2 years.
2 years.
Yeah, so second year, third year.
Okay. Oh, very interesting. And did you do all that work within Queen's, or did that involve community work outside campus?
That was all within Queen's University. So it was the first year the chapter, Engineering Without Borders chapter, was in Queen's University. Okay. So we helped start it up as well, but it was specifically exclusive to Queen's University.
Okay. And do you still stay in touch with some of the people from?
One or two.
Okay.
But not as many, not all of them.
Okay. And what was your internship like at Suncor? What kind of things did you do?
It's really good because that was pretty much my first real world experience. I think it's super interesting when you're working for a big corporation. You're pretty much a small part of a big machine. So it's really cool to see how decisions are made, how they prioritize projects and work to be done. Probably the first 2 months is just doing normal co-op student stuff. It's nothing exciting, but it's your daily task. But embrace it. But then kind of once I started to get comfortable, I guess my main tip here would be most teams will have a spreadsheet or some sort of tracking as far as projects on their bucket list, and they kind of prioritize it based on that. So once you pick a few projects that you find interesting and that you can do, then you find out who's responsible for that project, go talk to them, learn more about it, then go to your manager and pitch it. Can I work on this? I talked to this person already. Okay. He's cool with it if I take it on. And
so you really have to take the initiative to kind of look through the projects. Does everyone do that, or do you kind of seek out you have to make an active effort to do that?
I don't know if everyone does it. I'd highly recommend it. Now that I'm full time, I've seen quite a bit of co-op students, and the ones that we've rehired kind of do something similar, whereas the ones we don't rehire just cruise through their co-op program.
Okay.
Because pretty much your co-op program is an interview. So you do the interview for the co-op program, but the co-op program is the real interview.
And so you were able to work with different teams while you were working at Suncor because of those specific projects?
Suncor, I wasn't able to work with as many different teams. It was mostly within my own group. But yeah.
It's still a good experience.
Yeah, great experience.
So you were there for 1 year. And
for 1 year.
You came back to Queen's to finish off?
No, it was a May-to-May internship. So then during the summer, I decided to try a different position, different company, just to expand my contacts. So then I applied for a summer job position in Imperial Oil. And then that interview was kind of interesting because they actually went mark by mark my transcript, and like for a second year, I did have like I never failed the course, but like I had a couple 50s, and they're just like, oh, what happened here?
Oh.
So like I think another good thing for like interviews, basically know your strengths and weaknesses. So like for example, if you have 50s, that's not a big deal. For my answer was just like first year, like new to university, lived on my own, probably didn't have the best time management, but as you can see throughout the second, third years, like my marks gradually progress. Then the second thing was, like, I know my weakness, like, it's all the, like, super theoretical courses, like thermodynamics, heat mass transfer, those are probably my weaknesses. But then if you look at all the, like, the project-oriented projects, like, everything that, like, requires, like, execution or, like, group projects or, like, my extracurricular activities, those are, like, the type of projects that I excel in. And that's kind of, like, how I kind of, like, steered the interview.
Okay, yeah, know which direction to bring the interview in so that they don't focus on something that maybe you don't want to talk about for too long. Yes, definitely true. So after you got the interview, was there another step to the process, or you got the interview, you started the job?
So yeah, so got the interview, got a job for that one. It's just 4 month, pretty much for both intern and summer positions. At the end of your term, you do like a group wide presentation type of thing. Okay. So in the case for the Imperial Oil one, when we did the student presentations the day before, like I knew the manager of the group I wanted to work for, so like had coffee with him, talked to him quite a bit prior to the presentation. Then during the presentation, it was pretty funny because like we had probably like 12 presentations. He only asked like 1 or 2 questions to like in total, but then once I kind of presented, he like started drilling into the questions. So then I think he was more engaged.
Yeah, that's a good.
Then yeah, basically the way it works, all the managers like after student presentations, they go into like a meeting room and they kind of like discuss like who should get offers and like which group they want to be in.
Okay.
And stuff like that. So
it was successful at the end of the presentation.
Yeah.
Great. So you were able to work at Imperial Oil after that presentation.
Exactly. So it's pretty fortunate because pretty much the first day of school in my last year, got the call. So the last year was pretty relaxed.
Nice. Okay, so that was like a promise to be working after you finished your studies.
Offer.
Okay, and what kind of work did you do while you were
So I worked 10 days on, 10 days off. It's the technical title is like facilities engineering. So basically, I was working at the Coral Oil Sands. It's a $30 billion project. Basically, there's 8 on-site engineers, and basically our role on-site is basically anything that goes wrong or anything that deviates from the original design requires engineering approval and design, and that's what we do. And then we do the whole optimization, troubleshooting, group failure analysis.
Okay, very interesting. And so you've been there for a couple of years now.
2 years.
And you've been working in the same kind of field. And do you see yourself working in this field in the future?
Just for my personal interest, no. Okay. Like, this is a great learning experience as far as my specific role, but I kind of want to like do my own kind of business, but I guess that's kind of related.
Okay.
But yeah.
Very interesting. All right. So would you have any broad tips that you would give to somebody who's studying in your field and looking for a job?
Yeah, I think as far as like getting the position for the interview process, I think is very important to do a lot of research in the role, the position, the role, like the industry and the company. For example, in every interview, they're going to ask you basically why do you want the job, and also during the question period, that's your time to like show off what you know. So, for example, in my instance, I knew they put in like the plant that I'd be working in, Firebag. So then I just did Google, figured out the technology that Firebag uses. It's called SAGD. Basically, from there, for example, I'd be like, I'm very environmentally conscious. That's why I kind of want to work here. I want to minimize like water usage. What type of projects do you guys have going on right now to like minimize water usage? And they have tons of projects that go on like this. And then from there, you can kind of like bounce off and like start a discussion, and they'll be like, oh wow, this guy knows how SAGD works. He knows quite a bit of the technology already. So that's one tip: do quite a bit of research. The second thing is there's a lot of online resources available for how do you do a behavioral interview like properly. But the gist of it is you want several stories for the common questions that they're going to ask you. They're going to ask you the teamwork, problem solving, time you went above and beyond, initiative, etc. So don't make up stories, but like you should have throughout your life, you should have some experiences that you can rely on. So that's just for getting the interview. And once you're actually into internship, just have the mindset that your internship and co-op program is the interview process. So don't slack off. You need to work really hard. And the main thing that you need to do, I think, is find out the priority items on top of your day-to-day responsibilities. And basically, by the end of your core program, if you can show that your return on investment based on the projects that you've worked on, if you pretty much paid for a core program, then you have a pretty good justification of getting a job again. So it's just a matter of like finding out what the priorities of the team are. Because most people, when they're a co-op student, basically their responsibilities are really, I don't know, it could be like typical co-op assignments. So it's kind of like up to them to kind of like expand the horizon by like talking to their manager, getting the right projects.
Taking the initiative.
Exactly.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much.